All right, Peter, thank you very much. Peter Ducey. Let's get the read right now from Joni Ernst. She's watching this very, very closely, the Iowa senator, just chosen this week by her colleagues to be the GOP conference vice chair. A very prominent role, to put it mildly. And keep in mind, it was a little more than a few years ago she made it to the Senate. Senator, it's very good to have you.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you, Neil.
Same here, and congratulations.
I appreciate it.
What do you make, Senator, of what's going on in Florida? What we do know, it won't change the fact that Republicans will still control the Senate, but it's a reminder, especially with a couple of seats that flip the other way, that it might be roughly by the same numbers. Does that concern you, bother you, or you just move on?
I think we are well situated in Florida, and I think that Senator Nelson has served his country very well in the United States Senate. However, the folks of Florida have spoken, and I believe that Rick Scott will make a wonderful new senator for the state of Florida. I think they should move on.
Are you worried for 2020 that we might run into this all over again in Florida, that surprising as this may sound, they have not corrected problems that were in place 18 years ago?
Well, I served as a commissioner of elections at the county level in the state of Iowa when I served as county auditor. And of course, we know that you need to have people of integrity that are running elections. And so if problems haven't been corrected, that responsibility falls directly on that commissioner of elections. And certainly if we see that there are problems, then either the problems need to be corrected or the person in charge of those elections needs to go.
Any advice for Senator Nelson?
I would say, Senator Nelson, leave a great legacy and leave a positive reflection of your time in the United States Senate. It's time to say goodbye and thank you to the great folks of Florida.
Well, Senator, it's interesting how the midterms are sort of being recalibrated and rethought of more than a week after the fact. It is possible, when all is said and done, Democrats could pick up about 36, maybe as many as 38 seats. Does that constitute a blue wave to you?
That is not a blue wave. That is a blue trickle at most. And if you look back at Presidents Clinton and Obama during their midterm elections, they lost far more seats than President Trump has. He is much closer to President Reagan in seats that were lost in the House. So, no, it is not a blue wave. And the fact that we are picking up seats in the United States Senate speaks very highly, not only of our Senate members and the quality candidates that we put forward, but also of the Trump administration and understanding that the policies we have in place are working for the American people.
You know what's so weird? I know you used the Reagan analogy, and you're right. Ronald Reagan lost more seats. Of course, we were in the depths of a recession that was looking intractable. I think people on the left and right would readily agree the economy is substantially better now, one of the more dramatic recoveries we've seen in history, and yet not a tangible benefit in the House to the degree you would think. What do you think limited Republican gains?
Well, I do think that our messaging is very important, and we shouldn't just talk at the voters. We shouldn't just talk at our constituents. We need to connect with them, and we need to understand what their concerns and their issues are. And then how do we reflect our public policy based on their concerns and do it in a conservative manner? We need to message that, and we need to make sure that that connection exists. That's why it's going to be really important to message our priorities coming up for 2020.
You know, the rap against your party, Senator, fairly or not, and maybe just your leadership position will change the approach, but that suburban women are a problem for Republicans, and that it was a problem again in the midterms, especially in a lot of the key states where seats on the House side flip. Does it concern you?
Well, it does concern me, but again, the policies that we are putting in place that will help suburban women, we need to make sure that we are communicating those clearly. And I don't feel that we did that adequately in this last election cycle. My home state of Iowa, for example, we did lose 2 of our Republican congressional seats. We saw those flip, and we attribute that considerably to those suburban women. So when it comes to health care and the actual advances that we've made, whether whether it is working on pharmaceutical costs, whether it is doubling the child tax credit, whatever that might be. We need to make sure that women know about those initiatives, know that we are working for them, and really making sure that we are hearing what their concerns are. They want to know that they have been heard, and I feel if they have been heard and we're acting on that, then we will do very well in 2020.
Senator, your state no stranger to the pressure that's building on the trade front and the freeze that exists between ourselves and the Chinese. There was talk today that the president is ready to at least put in motion something that will indicate more constructive talks when he meets with Chinese leader Xi Jinping next week. If there is no formal construct of a deal, it doesn't have to be a deal. I had one Wall Street pro tell me all bets are off for the markets and our economy, and this thing could drag on a year or more. What do you think?
Well, I think we do need to have a very, very carefully constructed outline of what we would like to see and accomplish moving forward with the Chinese. And I am very glad that the president will be meeting with President Xi Jinping and moving forward. We need them to move forward. Now, my folks back home, my farmers, ranchers, manufacturers, they all understand why the president is doing what he's doing. But of course, I had one farmer, he eloquently stated it. I understand why the president is doing it. I just don't understand why previous presidents didn't do it sooner.
All right, Senator, very good catching up with you. Congratulations again on your appointment. We'll be watching very closely. Have a wonderful weekend.
Happy Thanksgiving, Neil. Thank you.
To you as well, Senator.